So we are starting the third week, and then I've been observing how the class goes and everything. So I would like to address a few issues. So one of the things is, what is our expectations from you as AIs to do before the class? Yes, Hamid?
Read the class prep
Yes.
for my kids and grade them.
Yeah, read the class prep.
And grade them, I guess, and then ready for that week. Look at the PowerPoints and like go through. Like for new one, like first week, like I didn't watch all the videos, but second week I did. So I think that helped me too. Like I knew what they are talking about, and I could discuss more about digital natives and digital immigrants and all that.
Very good. Anything else? What else we expect from you as AIs?
Grade in a timely fashion.
Yes, grade in a timely fashion. What else?
Announcements?
Announcements. We need to send the weekly announcements to keep them on track. So when you look back at your own week, how do you feel you performed on these things that I expected you to do? Because I've been going through because I can see all the classes, and I see that some of you didn't grade the class preps before the class, and announcements are not in the same template, and then I'm seeing like you send out an announcement, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, and I'm sending another one. When I click on the links, it goes to a different instructor's website, and then you send a correction announcement. So anybody wants to reflect on these issues? Yes.
I know one of the issues was, and I know you had sent two announcements about people, and it was the form, for some reason, the filter, he wasn't showing up on the filter, and when we scrolled through, we didn't see his class. So for some reason, he wasn't showing up on the filter, and we had to hit select all, and even though he wasn't on the list, that was the only way to get his class to show up on the filter. And a couple of Peters and I think a couple of Kendums weren't showing up on the filter as well. So it's just, we have to be a little bit more careful when we're checking the forms, that the filter doesn't always work.
Okay, so it is a technical issue.
So the email you got
Yeah.
from one of my kids, it wasn't my fault. Like we tried to resolve it, and like we couldn't see any of their work. And then next day we saw their work, so I sent another announcement. Don't worry about it, I got it. But it's still, my class doesn't show up. Like I checked yesterday, it doesn't show up. Everyone's Monday through Wednesday, then there is no Thursday.
But if you download it as an Excel file, it shows up, right?
No, like my kids' class spread showed up the next day. It didn't show up the first day, and my class doesn't show up at all.
Yeah, I know. Megan showed me that. I think it's the Google's.
So how are we going to fix it?
He needs to just download Excel instead of just look at the Google form.
Are you clear, or we need to figure out the technical issue if it's a technical issue?
I think I'm somehow, but it would be nice to see my class so I can just go there. I don't know if like ETS or can help or
Probably not, because
whoever.
it's a Google thing. But I mean, what's weird is that it was the week one class prep that had issues, and the first one, the getting to know you, worked fine. It shows up on the filter. It was the second one that for some reason, anything submitted after a certain time that week just stopped showing up on the filter. So I don't know if there's a limit on how many it actually can show in the filter. But what happened was when we looked at it all the way down the side, the numbers are a certain color if they actually do show up on the filter. The number of the entry, so like 1 through, or actually 2 through like 200 or something, or no, 2 through 170 something showed up like a light green, and everything after that had a black number. And those were the ones that weren't showing up in the filter for some reason.
So we need to figure out a way to resolve that. Are you checking that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
I'm
see.
checking the week 3. Let's see if we can see how many sessions.
Oh, was it?
They did their documents and spreadsheet interface.
Nothing first.
Yeah, I'm taking it first.
We need to figure it out.
So right here. So I think this is the old one. We should not have a problem. See, it didn't have the filler thing. So I think week 3 you'll be fine.
Week 3 I'll be fine.
Because there's no filter.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just easier from past experiences if you don't filter it, but you just download it as an Excel. You don't mess with filtering or anything like that. And then I just hit Control F and changed all of where my names came into like a different cell color, like an obnoxious pink. So that way I knew these were my students. And in case they selected the wrong section, I still had everybody else's responses, just in case too.
Sometimes the cell they will hide. So as long as you go there and then drag it, it will show that extra.
And then like if you really get confused, ask your mentor, like try to show or stop here, Megan, or Shuya will try to figure out. So like make sure you grade the class preps before your class. I checked, I saw like 2 AIs who didn't grade it. So it's on my list. I'm not going to tell their names at this moment, but if it happens again, I may send you a written notice about it. So number 2, announcements. When you send announcements, double check before you hit the send button to students that everything works. So don't say sorry because it looks unprofessional. We are already having issues with their attitudes in the class, towards technology. We are trying to create a nice experience for them, so we want to look professional. And W200 class, before me, Dr. Lethbridge worked really hard to bring it up to a certain level, and then we have the people's buy-in into that. They put their hard work. So we want to make sure that the class still looks professional, and then we don't lose that fame of the class that being a well-working class, even if they like the content or not, like too many assignments or not, but at least we need to do our part really well and look professional. So double check any announcement before you send. Hit the send button. I wouldn't want to see any other like, sorry I sent this, but it's not that, that's not where the announcement is, the PowerPoint is wrong, the deadlines are wrong, so make sure you double check it. That's good, let me see my notes I took. So I noticed that with the videos we are recording and stuff, that some people didn't go through the PowerPoint before the class. So you have to be prepared to the class and then don't have surprises with the technology that if you haven't checked it before how it works. Because then again we look unprofessional in front of students. You can play with the technology before, so there's less number of surprises that may happen in the class. That's another thing. What else? Grading. Keep up with your grading when you need to do weekly, like make sure you grade the class prep before, because we bring in these ideas that the students give us into the class so that we increase the buy-in of students. So you say like, I read what you said, I value it, and here's what I'm giving you back. So I think it's very important. And then tip, you can grade it after the class, but make sure you don't have so many because it brings up a lot of grading later on, and then it will be hard. And then the last thing is you need to be prepared for the class. Is very important because you are like supposed to work 18 hours. Now we have the class time 3 hours, and now we have 1 hour work hour in the TTL, and then if you're observing somebody's class, it's another 3 hours. So it adds up to 8 hours. So you have another 10 hours of the week to work on this other stuff I'm saying is announcements, grading, class prep, and any answer to your students' emails. Any questions, comments, suggestions, concerns? So I have a few exemplary AIs I would like to say, like Janet was an example AI this week. I haven't seen any things, and then Najia and Yuming and Shuya and Megan was very good in the TTL. So we thank you for that as well. The rest are some of you guys are new. So this is just like to make sure we are on the right track in the beginning of the class. So keep it up. That's it. Anything else we would like to add? Yes.
The eraser don't work. Like we tried like all the erasers, but all of them are worn out. We need some new erasers.
The smartboard or the actual
The
Expo?
actual erasers.
We have a couple in the back. They're
So-
in black boxes.
Okay.
We
So what
asked
we did,
that
we
you-
got some napkin from the restroom and used it because.
Okay, that was a great
So-
solution, but we'll find it. That's an easy fix.
It's easier if you bring the Expo set to class and
Yeah,
then
we brought
brought it back.
We brought the expo set, and it's still the
And still-
erasers.
Okay, we'll swap
They
them
are
out.
all worn out. So.
Yeah, we'll check it, and if needed, we can just ask Vicky to order a new one.
And that's the easy, as long as it's not technology and stuff. Did we hear from the swivel company about the videos back, or what did we do about it? We had corrosion in the.
It says that you can clean it with, I looked it up, it says that you can clean it out, you're really careful with just alcohol, because the alcohol will eat the corrosion off, and you just take a Q-tip and wipe it out after it's done.
But shall
So-
we do it, or we should like ask somebody, because then Megan or Shuya would be responsible if something happens.
We could try taking over to ETS, see if
Yeah,
they have
I
like a
mean-
cleaner solution or something. We could try that.
The swivel just does hardware problems, not or software problems, not hardware problems.
Now we need to put a new procedure in place saying like when you return it, don't put any batteries
Yeah,
or
I've been working on doing procedure check-ins for things that need to have certain things done, like iPods and iPads need to be put on chargers if it's not closing, and schools need to have everything taken out that doesn't go in there.
Very good. Any other comments, concerns, suggestions about teaching? Yes.
I'm thinking about putting the class prep somewhere within my on-course resource folder. I'm concerned the students may feel things are very diffused across different, so many places to go to find what they need to find. And I was thinking that's one thing that I can do to make it so that they don't have to go to the website unless they're double checking, like if they missed a class and they need to see the PowerPoints in a laid out fashion.
So
And
you would put the PowerPoint in there, or like how are you going to put the link on course?
I
or
was
the
thinking of putting just the link to the class prep in the resource folder.
So it's important to remember that some of the class preps have additional information at the beginning. So
On the
you
website.
Oh,
On the
they're
website.
not included
Yeah.
in the
Right.
back.
Oh, they're on the website.
Okay,
so
so
like
that
read
can be
articles or read stuff. So if you did that, you'd have to be really careful to make sure you captured all of the pre-information
Okay.
that they'd have to do too.
Yeah, because in summer session I did that.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually created a new Google form, and then I copy and paste all the information on the class prep week that's on the website, and I copied that to the Google form. If you want to do that, if there is additional information on the website, you have to copy that
Mm-hmm.
into another place. You can do that if you want, so you will have your own Google form and your Google response.
Mm-hmm.
That can be, you can do that, but it takes time to do that kind of thing.
I mean, yeah. So if it's okay to change, because the other thing I was noticing, sometimes there is this button that you click by mistake and then it changes all the deadlines for all our classes because they are connected. What was that button called?
Oh, the on-course assignments.
Yeah, on course assignments. Do you want to show it one more time, please? I read it in the announcements. So
Yeah.
just to make sure, because once, if you by mistake, if you click it, the deadline, and then attach it to a grading thing, it changes the whole thing. So our lead AI needs to go change it all the time.
Kendra needs to see this.
Okay.
Okay, so if you have to create assignments, make sure that when you create assignments, select the right groups. I don't think you have problem, but the problem is here. Do not click this link. This assignment is graded and is associated with the gradebook. This is not only your session. This is a combined session. If you click this, all the things on the gradebook will become it will link to your assignments. So that's why do not do that. And I have to go back to change.
Okay, I mean,
And if that is something have been graded, I will not be able to change the due date. So that's why now you will see the tip 1, the due date is like December 30, because I cannot delete the due date. I can only just extend the due date. So just make sure that do not click this button, then everything is good.
so whatever happens, don't click that button.
Yeah, because if
Because the other one is
Peter I think you mistakenly do that, because I think you figure it out and you change that back. Like you click back to do not associate.
we don't think you did it on purpose.
Yeah, but
There
because
was
of
no
that
malice in my
mistake,
heart.
I know.
see, there is a due
Oh.
date
Yeah.
here.
Just with we don't need to change it. The default is that one, huh? Yes.
While we're talking about grades, I have a question for, I guess, the AIs. I had somebody's student, I think it was your student, come in the other day and ask about class preps, because he had not turned in class prep 2. So my question is if I encouraged him to go ahead and do class prep 2 anyways, because I said it'll give you useful skills, it'll help you keep up with the lessons, even though it's already been graded as a 0. Is that what you all want your students to do, that if they miss an assignment and come in and ask about it, just encourage them to do the assignment anyway so that they get the experience with the assignment? Or do you want them to come and talk to you? Because I'm not sure how to advise students in that situation.
Very good question.
My suggestion is encourage students to do that, but tell them that you have to communicate with your AIC if you can get any points back.
Can they?
So this is depends on different AIC decision. You can decide if you want to go back to check their answer and give the points. But I usually don't do that because I have to go back and find their name. So I will tell them that at the end of semester, if you need higher grade, and then we can talk about that, I can go back to check. But that's at the end of semester, not now. So even now, you give me the answers, I will not give you points back. But that's my policy. So you can have your own policy.
But I think like we need to standardize it too somehow, don't you think? Like if we say like if you missed it, you can get like 1/4 of the lesson if the grade if you do it within 1 week, or you say like you don't get any grade. So I think we need to standardize because we don't want to penalize somebody because it's in your section or in O'Neill's section or other Peter's section. They get like half point. They get.
His problem was that he's one of our older students.
Yeah.
He's not technologically friendly at all, and he didn't realize there was a difference between the class prep and the tip. So after I walked him through that, he seems like he'll be fine for the rest of the semester with that part at least. But yeah.
And then like we can say a policy like in the first 2 weeks if they did the class prep late within the like time frame of 2 weeks, it can be lenient but won't do it like they won't get any further points because now they know where it is. It's not they didn't locate it, they did do it on time.
I like that first 2 weeks because I know a lot of like I told my kids I'm not gonna give them points, but some of them were confused. One came up and said like he was really struggling, so once we talked to him he was fine.
Yeah,
So
I have
I think
my
I
students
like
first
that.
week is fine.
So
Okay.
we can do something like that. But any other suggestions?
I think historically what we've done is if there are people on the margin of grades at the end of the semester, we've gone back and looked at their class preps. I think we've only looked at their class preps. So that's kind of the make or break for between like a B minus and a C plus for some people. So it is important to encourage your students to keep doing it, but also to communicate with the AIs. It's also important that you make note of a potential grade that you give them somewhere. That way, if you need to go back, you're not scrambling to regrade things and find their responses and stuff like that.
When I was in I-101 and we allowed for when we allowed for makeup work, we'd give them the opportunity to do makeup work, but it would only be for 50% of the final grade. So if you would have gotten a 90 on it, you would have only gotten a 40 on it, for example.
So as long as like we have a I think standardized policy so that Shuya and Megan knows what to say, kind of, and then we can agree on one thing. Shall we come up with a policy for that?
Okay, so we will do like first 2 weeks is okay. We will go back to check, but after like this week, so this is week 3. So if no late submission acceptable.
Yeah, first 2 weeks.
Yeah. And then in the future, if we
I
say
have already turned down several students' requests. Like they would ask me, "Well, sorry, I missed the deadline. Can you still check my class prep?" And I say no.
yeah. But it's your first time teaching. If you wanna say announce it like for the first 2 weeks is okay. Like if you want to announce it.
So
Because you want to keep your credibility in front of the students too, and then we address this issue late.
So you could also say that I discussed this issue with the first 2 weeks coming up and a bunch of people having issues with this, and as a group we've all decided to reevaluate the policy, and that makes it sound like we actually went back and reevaluated the policy rather than somebody made a mistake somewhere.
Yeah. So if you want.
But for your sanity, do grade as stuff happens, because if let's say the vocay or the PIC's done, you don't grade because they didn't turn it in on time. But at the end of the semester, you're going to grade that through their website grading. So if you give them the feedback, they can fix it. They won't be double penalized too. So even if you feel like, okay, well, they really didn't turn it in on time, it's 3 weeks late, it's way past the deadline, give them a hypothetical grade. Well, if you had turned it in on time, you would have gotten full marks or 80%, so that they know that they can improve these aspects or add to it or link things properly for the final project.
And for the students with lower technical skills, you can pair this students with one of TTL staff. Like he needs to be here at certain time so he can get help for complete the class prep. We have that students before.
He was in 2 or 3 times last week.
Wow.
I helped him twice, and I think you helped him once because I had to leave because he came in while I was right about to go to class. So.
And the week before he also came.
Yeah, he also came twice that week too.
Yeah, we will have these type of students. Last semester we had some too here, which I always see them here. So they get better, but it takes a little bit of time. And that brings us a different discussion in the future. Where, like one of the sessions we can do, like what do we expect, like how the learning here will transfer to their future teaching.
So that I also really want to thank Shunya and Megan because
Very
that
nice.
student did like a lot better in class this week.
Perfect.
So thank you so much.
He just, if anybody else, I don't want to say his name, but if anybody else gets him in during your office hours, you'll know him when he comes in. He's very friendly. He just needs you to talk to him really slowly and explain things as much as possible. And he gets it really fast if you can explain it as simply as possible and just kind of slow.
That's very good. So, that was the announcement. Anything else? Yes.
So we're saying that we will accept late submission for the first 2 weeks, but what about like tip 1? Because they can only submit their tip 1 before the deadline, and otherwise we will just close it on our course. So some of the students didn't submit their
And just got 0.
okay. So I don't ask them like, oh, you can email me the link, and then I'll still go there.
Unless that's like a technical issue or something else. If that's just they are lazy to do that before they do it, you should not give them points.
One thing I was thinking about with the assignments and on course is that when you've got the due date, then if they are late, and they would have to email you and go through this other process. I'm just thinking that might be more time consuming than. Is there like we can like type the due date, and then that way if somebody submits, like suppose somebody's pushing the deadline and they're 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes past the deadline, then they can't submit it, and then that creates the need for a whole new process.
Yes, you
So I
can.
was just thinking in
You
terms
can
of
set up
efficiency.
like the open day, and then you will see late
Mhm.
on their assignments. So they can still submit that after the due date, but you will see their mark late.
So
Which is
how
like
do you
bright red
do that?
letters.
Let's show you.
Which was a bright red letter right next to their assignment submission.
So like this one, if you scroll down, you see set until date. So you can set that later, like 1 week or 2 week or 1 month, and then they can still submit that before
So there's
that
a
date.
due date and then there's a until date. So
Yeah.
Okay.
and it highlights it if it's late.
Yeah, it'll show up when they I remember this from I-101 because they had set weekly due dates. It'll say submitted, and then it'll say in bright red letters next to it late.
Late,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any questions, Peter?
Nope.
That's great. Okay, anything else we would like to address? So these are all, so I'll just like keep checking and then following your classes and then see if we need to address any other issue next week. So we'll go to week 3 now and then
Oh,
yeah.
before that, do you want me to talk about the template for announcement?
Yeah, that's true too. Very good.
So I want to talk about your announcement because there are some of course you can have your own style, but there are some elements that you have to put on your announcement to help your students.
And this is based on many years of experience of these classes being designed.
Yes.
So that's to
So you
inform
can
students.
either use mine or use Janet's. I'm gonna use hers as example. So the first part is you should summarize what you have done in class. So kind of refresh students' memory. And then you create a to-do list, and you have to have a clear instruction about where they can find information, the links, if possible, hyperlink to the right place, and then the due date for each one if you have different due date. But if all are the same, you can probably just put it here and say all due sometime. And when you copy and paste from mine or Janet's, make sure that you change the link to your own. Like sometimes like a submission pad, your due date, or that kind of thing, you have to change that to yours. Otherwise, your students will be very confused. And then put your name. Every time when you send an announcement, you should have your name on the email or on the letter, because students will know who is this person, and your email and your office hours, so your students know when and where they can find you. So these are the components that you should put on your announcement to make sure that you have all the things. But of course you can do whatever you want, but you have those things.
Also at the subject, make sure you put your first and last initials.
You can have your sessions like
Yeah.
this one, or you can put your names. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, but we need to have a summary of what happened in the class, the due dates, so that they know where everything is, and then hyperlinks or where the things are. So the tip is in here, the class prep is in class prep in the website. There's a workshop going on, and then your office hours with your name.
And you should reduce the time of sending this kind of announcement, because that's only for this kind of announcement, unless you have something emergent that you want to tell your students. Do not just send one word and by using announcement, because students don't like check emails. So it would be better that you have a habit that you send this because this is very important, not just something very tiny that you want to talk with it. You can talk about that. You can add that onto your PowerPoint if possible. You can talk about that in next class if that is something you want to address. But just reduce the time of using this, sending a very small thing.
Any questions to Yahweh about announcements?
Alright, then week 3.
Week 3.
Oh, one more thing. I changed the IU account for the Teach Lab. Not everyone will use that, but if you need to use that, that is the new passphrase, because it's already 3 years or 2 years, so I have to update the new one. So now it's yes, we love EDUC W200. Oh, there it is.
EDUC is W200 is one word, no spaces.
No, I think there is a space.
Okay.
Is it for PC?
Yeah, this is for PC. So we have it now. We can log in on that and that one now. So do you want me to just talk through the slides or just show what was changed, or?
You probably need to talk through the slides because we have new.
Okay. I'm not entirely sure what all of they need to focus on for this either. So the focus on this week is getting them into the storyboards and then going over the ISTE the Indiana standard for
No,
wait,
it's T.
ISTE.
ISTE. Okay. Yay. Okay. So there's no dates or anything on the needs. If you want to add dates and times on this one, I guess they can, right? For specific due dates. There weren't any on here to take off, so this was how it was. Setting up their Symbaloo. This slide changed from last year because it was the Digo slide. So the other thing that's been added is if their password doesn't work and the password recovery tool doesn't work, then that means they signed in with Google the first time instead of actually signing up for a Symbaloo account. So they'll have to actually go back and sign up for a Symbaloo account if they can. I haven't checked to see if it will. What?
I can.
I was just going to say, a lot of the ULAs have reported that this was like a big issue. It
Yeah.
kind of ate up time and stressed out a lot of the students. So in your ULA meeting, bring it up that this is how you fix this issue. If you have students still having login issues, please walk through this process with your ULA. Actually show them where to click and how to do it.
Am I out of the way of the slides now? Okay. The other thing is that we have a job aid on how to make their own Symbaloo tiles too. I started making a job aid on how to share their web mixes because we had a lot of reports that some people were just copying the link at the top of the web mix. Does everybody in here, you or your ULAs, know how they share their actual web mixes? Yeah, okay. Because that was the problem, is that it was just taking them to the generic SimBlue page rather than a webmix, so.
So I would recommend AIs that when you have your meeting with your UA, make sure they know how to do certain things. They should know because they took this course before, and just make sure they actually go through all the steps that they need to demo with the students. Because if your ULA is confused, then your student must be even more confused.
Well, one of the ULAs that didn't know how to do it was actually Lavina, and she's been in it for 2 years now.
Well, SimBlue is new.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
this
using
one is
Pico.
new. So if that is a new tool, that is a tool that you have to talk with your UA because they have never used this before, so they need more time to play with it. And it would be better that you know how to do that too, so you can kind of save your ULA during the class. You should be more familiar with this tool than your ULA.
I think the demo was in class.
Yeah.
So, the really easy way to do it is that when you do a new webmix, just in case, what they were doing wrong was that they were just copying this. So this would just take you back to SimBlue. What they have to do is they have to hit share, either public or private, and then this will give them the correct webmix address. And that's where people were getting confused, is that they were copying the URL rather than that link. So.
Can you do that one more time?
Yeah. So they create their new webmix.
And you click on that plus tab.
Yeah, to create a new webmix, you either click on this plus tab, or there's something up here.
There.
This one, I think. There's this one, and then there's
That side.
over here.
Yeah.
Because that's how we had them do it in the class.
Yeah.
Sidebar. Will it be exactly the same if they use one of the other?
It just creates a new webmix, and then to share the webmix, they click share. They have to either select public or private. Private just means that somebody has to be friends with them, so unless they friended you on the SimBlue, you won't be able to see their webmix. They can fill in this information, it's not required. They have to hit share, and then that will give them the correct URL link to their personal webmix. And if I need to do a job aid for this one, I can finish the one I started the other day. But you had said that we shouldn't need it, so.
UA should know that.
Okay. We also have a job aid on how to make the custom tiles as well, because oh, and by the way, the custom tiles, there's two things that don't work. You can't change the text color on the custom tiles, and you can't it'll give you like default images based on the website, but you can't choose between the default images. It always goes to the first default image. You can pick another image if you choose the select an image, but for some reason those two features on SimBlue just do not work on any browser. So okay, so this is the agenda for the day. Should this just be storyboard workshop and not digital story workshop, or are we keeping it digital story? Because I know you had me change this somewhere else when you sent this back to me this last night.
Really? Yeah, we can keep it.
Is that one's fine? Okay. The ISTE standards and their teacher websites. This is a video. Did we make this?
Students.
Students made it?
If you guys haven't checked it out,
It's
kind of
cute.
awesome.
It's absolutely cute. I watched it last night when I was making sure all the links were working. I double checked because of last week and that video not working. So this is their digital story script, and they're going to go over their scripts in this class too. They should have their feedback back by this week though, correctly? Okay.
That is for getting more feedback from their peers. So you ask their peers to switch the seats, and then they can give each other feedbacks too. Not only yours, but other people's. And you can also ask your UA to do that in the class. So they have 3 people's feedback.
More feedback, the better. So this is the timeline of where we are for this project. We're on the create a storyboard. Oh, and as a reminder, the storyboard workshops are next week. Do I need to put a sign up on the door for those? I had somebody come in from Kendam's class on Thursday for the storyboard workshops. I left this because that's something for the ULAs. So I left this on here. You might want to take this off. It's just for your ULA so that they have an additional source if you have them do this slide as well. This is the Shrek storyboard. It walks through one of the storyboards for a scene in Shrek. Kind of lets them see how storyboards are. Just as a something that got brought up a lot during the storyboard workshop last week, let them know that their storyboards don't have to be this well drawn, because that freaks a lot of people out when they see like the examples that we give are mostly, except for the one that stick figures in them and are really well drawn. They start to freak out and think, oh, I'm going to fail this assignment because I can't draw.
I always just draw on the board and say, like, can you tell me what is this? This is a person, right? Then that's fine. So, to comfort them.
Yeah.
They will feel
There was
that
a
it's too
lot of,
professional.
there was a lot of, oh my gosh, I thought we had to draw to the Shrek video standards when they came in last year. So, here's this example storyboard. Is this the one that they use for class?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's actually example storyboard they can click on, but it's also on this next slide, so you don't have to click on it. It's just for their references. And here's like, I don't know why they didn't think that they had to draw after they saw this example, because these are pretty awesome stick figures. But this shows an example of what a picture image should look like, how the text should look, so they have a voiceover text, and then notes of what should be happening in that scene as well. And if you explain the different parts of it, it'll help them out a lot with trying to figure out how to do their storyboards. Here's the rubric, and they can click on this and it'll take them to the overall rubrics page for everything. So you'll have to change the due date here for your specific class. If they do a paper one, do they have to do a paper one, or can they do a digital?
It depends on the instructor's preference, but I would recommend that you ask the students to do a paper version. It will be easier for you to do it later.
And if you have them submit their papers to the TTL, make sure they know that they need to submit them whichever your preference if you have both. But some of you only have a mailbox on the top there, so let them know where in the TTL the mailboxes are. And that they have to do it during TTL hours, obviously, because they can't get in here to do it otherwise.
No, they can just
slide it under the door?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
We always do that.
I'll be careful not to step on them when I come in.
I have a question about the feedback for the script. This is for they actually taught this course before. What is your feedback? What kind of feedback do you give them, and what do you base your critique on? What are you looking for in their digital story script, or in their digital story script?
That's a good question.
I always ask them to have the educational value to show it's more meaningful to them, and always link it to their future teaching job, because it's going to be on their teacher website. And also the length of their script. It must be no less than 2 minutes. That's the thing about focusing.
How are you deciding the length? What makes you realize it's...
I think it's pretty obvious.
I did it by word count I timed myself and saw how many words I could read in a 2-minute period, and then I just word counted. And so if it looked really short, there were issues. If it looked really, really long, there were issues. You know, keep in mind people might pause, or they might have like spaces, and so to them it might be 2 minutes, but when you read it, it's like 1:20. So just point it out to them, like, hey, just make sure that you have 2 minutes of dialogue.
And also, like, when I taught the class, because the storyboard, and Megan, maybe the expert in this one, like, you need to be able to give it to someone and the person will be able to develop. So it is as descriptive as that, because I got some is like, yeah, you see the teacher walking in the classroom and then they exit. Like, what happened in between? I have no clue. So you need to be a little bit descriptive, so if somebody picks it up, they will be able to figure out what's going on if it was the developer of the software. So enough details.
I have a student, she says she wanted an interview like her niece, like 3-year-old niece. So she said the problem with writing this digital story script is that she cannot script what her niece is going to say. So she asked me, what am I looking for in the script?
But she can script a hypothetical. Like, if you ask your niece, do you like school? What do you like about it? You could probably script, you know, a 10-second response that somebody might give to that question. The idea with that is that they have to know what they're asking and kind of go from there.
So I would say, like, if they have the questions ready written in your script and then a plausible answer, like the answer for 1 minute, they can even put that, like, my niece's answer for 1 minute will be inserted here.
Or what kind of answer that she is expecting to get from her needs.
Just a
children, this is really important, they
They
have
will
to
have
get
to
a
have
consent.
Yeah.
Right. Even if they're using baby pictures of themselves, they still have to have a consent.
Wait, how does that work?
Yeah. So
Right.
like I have students that were using pictures of their like childhood selves
Yeah.
that still also requires consent because they're minor photos. So you have to give self-consent,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Just so, because you are going into a teaching field, you have to cover all your bases. It's just easier if you do it now. That way they don't get penalized for it later.
And I will tell you where you can find the templates of form
Oh,
later.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, on that, two things. One is I remember last year we had some students who wanted to use video, but they didn't have consent, so they were trying to figure out how to blur somebody's face. I think really discouraging using video content where you would have to do that, because number one, it's not easy to do, and number two, it's really creepy to watch a video of. I mean, it's not going to look good on their website. If they want to do pictures of kids, they've got to have consent forms, and if they have other pictures of other people, they have to have consent. So.
I mean, even with interviewing somebody, just to have their voice on the camera, you kind of have to have their consent for that too. It's not just for
The
physical
parents
visit.
consent if they're a child.
Yeah, and parents consent if it's a child. But if they had the person's video but they didn't have consent, I'm wondering how they had the interview answers. Anyways, if you have the person's consent to use their answers but you don't have consent to use their face, you can always just pair it with another image as well and have them as a voiceover, just as a workaround for that.
And the other thing is, I had one student ask me if she could use photos of her teaching at a summer camp, and I said, well, you would need to have the consent. And she said, well, these were pictures that were taken, and there was already consent to use them for some promotional materials. And so at the time, I thought, well, that's fine. But then I was thinking about it later, and I thought, well, this is being used for a different purpose, and that would, in my mind, require a different consent. What do you guys think? Should we know?
That would require a different consent, usually because, especially with kids, you have to specify what you're getting consent for. This will be used for this promotional material that will be published on this date and will be used for this many months when it comes to kids. Sorry, I worked at the office at my undergrad, and I had to deal with, they didn't get consent with using one girl's photo on their new promotional apparel, and I was in the office during all of those legal discussions, so.
If they did do like classroom teaching and the teacher has like a weblog that their picture's already going up, you can ask them to get the original consent form, get a scanned copy or a photocopy, and once you have that, then make a judgment about whether they can use it or not.
Right.
Depends on what that says. But there's so many tools nowadays, like Jabberize, where they can take a picture of a face, distort it a little bit, make it completely different, and still have that same voice be given, but it's not the original picture, you're just connecting the two. There you could use Go Animate and translate that conversation without identifying who it is or what it is, but still retaining the originality of that comment. So if these are like concerns and legal issues, encourage the students to think outside the box and how they can represent the same type of meaning without using those visuals.
And I think that's really a good way to do it, and because obtaining consent, unless you are there with the person, that's going to be difficult and time consuming, and it may be less time consuming to do some sort of a digital representation.
So this is talking more about how to figure out how to set up your scenes for their story, with their storyboard. This has different examples of like the physical media they can use and use images of. So like they can do claymation, or they can even just take pictures of people with clay. It's got a whole bunch of different examples of what they can do. And here's some other ones that some of them are on this and some of them aren't.
Who's handling the green screen? Is that IC Office or is that TTL?
I see office.
Okay, everybody came in during the tour and said we had the green screen. So some of you might want to update your classes, because the ULAs who gave the tour said the green screen was in here, and I had no idea where it was, and I was looking for it. So.
Oh, okay. So you can tell your students that if they want to use green screen, They can stop by the IC and book the time that they can use for that lab.
Sure, that answers that question. This starts to go over copyright and tells them how much copyright information they can include. So if it's text material, they can only use 10% of the words or 1,000 words total, whichever is less. Motion media up to 10% or 3 minutes. Music up to 10%, but no more than 30 seconds. But if I remember right, there are some teachers who had required that they use less of these things, like they didn't want more than 3 images instead of 5 images, and because we talked about this.
In this class is 3.
And yeah, no more than 3 external images for the site. And then like Najia had no copyright music in hers at all. They had to use all free source music. So this is where they can get their royalty-free music. So Incomtech, Jamendo, Partners, and Rhyme. These last 2 take a little bit longer for the websites to load because they're using some really graphic-heavy websites. I think they've been updated since the last time I looked at this too. So, and then this starts to go over Creative Commons license with music. So
this is a great point at which to get your ULIs to demo how to get copyright-free images, how to use Google searching for that, how to use these websites, and what the pieces sound like. So if you're looking for something to involve your ULIs in, this is a great point at which to do that.
if in the very rare chance they don't find something on these websites, another website that people post a lot of free music and music clips on is called Newgrounds, but I wouldn't put it on the slide because it's not always got appropriate things on it, but it does have some like alternative you might not find on other professional sites, music and things. So it's just newgrounds.com. Don't go there unless you're really sure you want to go there though. It's just if you have a student who's like, I don't like any of this music, it's too classical. They can't find it, they're probably just not looking hard enough, to be honest. So this goes into Creative Commons again. This is a video. This link up here is a video. When you get to this slide, it walks you through the Creative Commons process. This is the Google one, I think. No, this is just Creative Commons, the website. This one is the Google, I think, or the, no, what I click. This one might be the Flickr or Imager. Oh no, this is just using search. One of these has a link to Flickr or Imager. And this
I
is
think
the
it's
one
the
you just had
next
me.
slide.
This is the one you just had me at, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here it is. Here's the Google Advanced Image Search and the Flickr Advanced Image Search and how they find the Creative Commons licensed material through those. And look, a Digo box.
What
Simulu
is
box.
this talking about? What is
This is how to search for Creative Commons licenses using Google and using Flickr.
Oh, okay.
So if you go to
This is
Google
ask
and go
would
to
you like to
images
do that?
and click on
Okay.
the gear, then the gear, you go to advanced search options, and then make sure that you select the free to use, create, modify, and share option.
That's interesting.
Just go to google.com. Most of the students will do it this way.
Yeah. It comes up and then it disappears.
Yeah.
So
Just search puppies in pajamas. Sorry. And then you go to images.
Advanced.
This is how they test the Google Glass. They tell them to search for something.
it's just not coming up for
Scroll
some
down.
reason. This is what I was
Scroll
having. Ow, why is it doing this?
So then you scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then you change the license type, basically, or usage rights,
It's usage rights.
to make sure that it's free to modify, free to share, free to use. And this is super important because some of your students won't realize that some of the images have stock watermarks.
Why is there a
Even
roll
some
of
of the
polenta?
watermarked images will show up here. Please discourage them from using watermarked images. That's just not appropriate or professional for digital stories.
Well, and some of the watermarked images will just take them to a site that they require. The image is free to use, but they require you to have a subscription, which is why they're watermarked. Why is there a roll of polenta for puppies in pajamas? I don't even understand. Here's the citation template example. So this is what their citation should look like for. Is this on their storyboard or is this on their script or?
They will just upload that to their when they are doing iMovie or WeVideo.
Okay.
But when they do WeVideo, usually they just type on that. So this is just for them to keep records of where they get those pictures and music.
Okay, so this one says that export as an image and add it to the movie. Could they just do the
Because there's a template is a PowerPoint file, so they
Okay.
can export it. Yeah, I will share that later.
Okay. I just didn't know if they could put it as like credits instead, if they know how to use Movie Maker enough to do credits.
Yes.
Okay. So. Oh, so this is where they should be keeping their images, is they need to keep their images in the IU box that's shared to you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry, I'm not sure about some of these, so I'm asking because I didn't do this
That's
last time. So this is a ULA demo on how to record narration using Audacity. Have them do a recording, show them how to do it. There's a few more steps in here that can help the ULAs too if they're new ULAs. What?
Make sure you test out the mics before you have them start. Some of the mics record very, very quietly, so you literally have to like get the mic close to your mouth.
And then the mics are back there
So
to check out.
Just if there's no identifiers which ones have bad recording and which ones have good, please just test it out when you get it in class.
If you're one of the first people here and you haven't ever checked anything out, the microphones are actually in the big cardboard box that says headphones. In that cabinet on the bottom right hand side. So this is also the ULAs, and they have a job aid up here too. That's just a section of the job aid. It was this part from the job aid that was on that slide. So if they need a reminder, if they've never done it before, if they can't remember how they did it last year, there's the job aid on how to do it, and it's for the students too.
So one thing for recording audio that may end up being critical when they do record their audio is to record many seconds of silence. That way they can use the noise filtering tool, and it really improves the audio quality and reduces white noise. If they don't record many seconds of silence, then there's no way you can apply that filter, and if there's white noise, then it's going to be in the finished result.
So like, is it the first 4 to 5 seconds you think of silence, or would it be more or less than that?
I think it actually just needs 2, but
Just about 2?
The longer it is, the better the filtering is.
Okay.
And encourage your students to record that in the different parts. Don't record everything in one audio files. Just do that in the separate files. Like cut it into separate part and record it
It's
into
important to
different
encourage your
files.
students to not delete bad recordings too, but there might be parts of those bad recordings that are good. So encourage them to do multiple trials and then save every version. So we might take them 3 or 4 runs to really get the hang of it, but not to delete those initial run-throughs.
The other thing is
keep it.
get them to record in different locations as well, and make sure that there's no background noise that maybe they can't hear, but the microphone is picking up, like electronical noise, like this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have the recording studio in back that they can use,
Mm-hmm.
but that still might not be the best place that they can record. They have to try it out. So it shows them how to save their narrations into an MP3 format so it can be exported into a video. The Audacity job aid again. Important notes. Quality of narration is extremely important. They need to enunciate and speak at a good pace, or else it will come out garbled, or it will be hard to understand them. Don't let them talk like me, because nobody's going to understand what they're saying. GarageBand's another option, especially if they have a Mac. Comes standard on most Mac computers as a default application. I think we have it on these 4 too.
Should this be a ULA demo?
I don't know, should it?
I'm asking the What do you guys think?
You can ask you right if you want. But actually,
Sorry.
on Mac you can download Audacity too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really need to talk about that.
You
Maybe
can
hide
talk
this
about-
slide. If you poll people at the beginning, and a lot of them are Mac users, they might already have it.
Yeah.
But
Some Mac users have already used GarageBand for various things, so they just might be more comfortable with it. But if you have a lot of people, if you poll people and they don't use GarageBand or have never used GarageBand, you could probably hide the slide or just skip it. So then putting it all together, they need to put everything in the same place. Make sure they make backups.
Mm-hmm.
Have them put it in their box maybe, and then make a backup on a flash drive. That way if they mess up one thing, they have a backup of it somewhere. Resources to make the movies, you can go to the library, and that'll where the next one takes you actually.
you check out equipment from here, as well as the
Oh
library.
yeah.
That's what this is.
Okay. This is equipment checkout. Okay, that wasn't that's more clear with this one. What is the limit we should have on how long they can check out equipment for? I know the swivels have been checked out for a week because the class needs it for the entire week. So for these students, should it be 24 hours maximum? So that way make sure that there's...
What's the old policy?
The old policy was 1 week.
Old policy was 1 week.
But depending on how much of that equipment we have, is there anything we don't have enough?
The cameras we've run out before previous semesters.
A lot of the older cameras don't work anymore either. Like, they're just really old cameras. We had 2 that won't turn on, the little gray ones that have the really crappy screens in them.
I mean, if cameras are things like that, we may make it like 48 hours, so 2 days. But
Okay.
I mean, if we have limited resources. But
I think maybe we'll set it up so that we'll tell people we'd like it back within 2 days, but you can have it up to a week, and then if we start to run low, we can tell people we need it back in 2 days because we're running low. Does that sound like a good idea, or
yeah, I mean, I would say like we can say it's for 2 days and see if they
bring it back?
disagree, and then they can recheck it.
Okay.
Maybe if it's available.
Okay.
Do we have a wait list?
No, we don't have a wait list, but we
Like-
can set one up.
Yeah, so if we have so many people,
We can have them sign up and leave their email, and if a piece of equipment comes in, we can email them.
something like that.
Okay.
Or we can encourage them to use their own phone
Yeah.
Right.
for taking pictures because a lot of them forgot they can use their phone.
Well, they can also use Wells Library and the Education Library to check things out also. So. For week 4, they have to have at least 5 images of their own. They have to have external online images with a maximum of 3. Recording their narration and keeping all of the files in their Box account, and then again make sure they keep a backup somewhere just in case.
So the narration is key. They need to have like a full narrative audio file that's good quality from start to finish. I've noticed in the past that if students don't make this marker, they kind of get set behind in the actual production part. So really push for having these narrative files done. The images, that's a little bit more flexible. But if you just have the students upload it to Box in your ULA can then go in and check to see do they have it or is it good quality. It's one of those things that ULAs can help you facilitate without actually giving grades, as well as reducing your workload so you can focus more on giving feedback on scripts and tips.
And then you're gonna send out the release form so that everybody can put it in their week 3 folder, right? Okay. I didn't know if I needed to take that off or not, so. So you have to add your instructor email here.
And you can also add your ULAs so they can comment on their files.
And this is where they should put everything. Put it up on Box, make sure they share it to you or your ULAs. And this is just a suggestion on how to keep their media organized so that it's nice and neat and not cluttered and everybody can find everything easier. Oh, I found out. This is a link to the W200 Symboloo, but I don't know.
That is, I created.
The one that I didn't know we had.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the videos up here that are also on the week 3 site. So
Do we have that one video linked where the student made W200 project can have like 500,000 views or something?
the which one?
We had a student 2 years ago that made a digital script for us, and then it kind of went viral. That would be maybe an interesting case to show people, but I also couldn't find it. They left it in my picture.
Break. Let's go on a break.
If you need 2 minutes break.
So here's the technology standards for teachers, International Society for Technology and Education standards for teachers. I did update all the links on this one, so everything now does go to something. So these also have, some of these have animations on them, just so you guys know when you get to these slides, and actual slides don't
So in the
show.
previous slide, do you guys pause and ask this question to students? The previous Janet, Yahweh, and Nadia, Peter. So like in terms of discussion, the new AIs, do you guys need ideas, or are you like when you see a slide like this, are you able to create a discussion for a few minutes? Any suggestions from old ones to new ones? Alicia, I always forget about.
Can you say the question?
No, like there's these questions in these screens. What do you do with these screens, the new AIs?
Talk about it, ask question, give possible response.
Okay.
What do you think is a good answer for this one?
Would you like me to demo it?
If you want to, like if you guys need, otherwise, I mean.
So for me, when we were talking about standards this last week,
Just to share, so that it's like a learning opportunity for new ones. So yeah.
one thing is standards. Very few people get really excited about it. It's something that's it's somewhat abrasive to teachers. But at the same time, so I say, maybe after I've taught for 10 years, I can look at those standards and go, oh yeah, I do all that. But the expectation now is to document what you're doing, so you have to be familiar with them. Yes, those standards will change over time, but now's the time to get used to the idea that you're going to be looking at those standards and basing what you're doing off of those standards to some degree and documenting that.
And
It's an
held
expectation of the
accountable.
profession now. And it makes you look much more professional.
That's good. Any other? So you can bring examples from your own teaching and discuss.
I guess I'll just talk about the reality, like, well, your teaching performance is based on those standards, and like your salary, your school performance is going to be affected by.
They're still discussing it. I don't know if it went through in Indiana, like if your school, if your students' performance gives you a raise or not. I don't think it's in place.
It's not in place,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's a great point, because it's one of those really touchy subjects. If you notice your class is just sort of zonked and dead after listening to you talk about digital story, it's a great thing. What do you guys think about merit pay? How many of you agree?
Yeah.
Would you like to be paid on your students' performance?
Is it all your students get zeros?
And engage them in a conversation about student standards and then teacher standards, and what are not necessarily the exact standard 1.1 that you're being held to, but the concept of just standards and accountability, and what does that mean for teachers? And that you can segue into the ISTET standards too.
My kids don't even heard about Race to the Top.
That's kind of old though, so don't fault them on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, is Race to the Top the same thing as NCLB? No.
No, it was an
After
initiative.
NCLB,
It was after NCLB. It was an initiative put forth where the DOE basically said, we're going to give money to these teachers that accomplish these goals first. And so it was monetarily based, and basically the teachers were racing to get to the top of this kind of achievement ladder that was
But I mean, you
set
can explain it.
Yeah.
If they don't know, it's kind of interesting too, and it's a little bit controversial. So it brings them to thinking, why as a teacher I need to meet these standards for myself and for students. So use these slides like gaining attention and waking them up. The class is long. They're sitting a lot, and then they may zoom out. So it may be a controversial to start an interesting discussion for a few minutes.
Make the late students coming back from break late answer the questions.
You can also give them a more immediate why should I care, and that's that when we are grading the website and the e-portfolio, these ISC standards are part of our rubric. So it's not just important sometime later in the future, it's important now, because you're going to be demonstrating these standards in your assignments and documenting.
So anytime you find a relevance for these W200 things we are covering, I would just say, show with the reality, like you're responsible with these standards, and then there's standards for technology use as well.
You can even ask about expectations, like how many of you expect your teachers to know how to check email? Well, what happens if you can't effectively communicate digitally? And segue that into the ISTE standards. So some of the ISTE standards, for those that haven't looked them over, are really complex and like not easy to attain, and others are actually fairly simple, like being able to communicate effectively online. So you can bring those kind of baseline competencies in and then build on to the more complicated aspects of these standards.
So yeah, I just wanted to point out this discussion slides, and if any time in the future we need to discuss a few minutes what you can say, we can do that. I think it's useful for the new AI's development. Cool, thanks.
Excuse me. Let's talk about the academic standards. Teachers should be aware of these standards so they guide what should be taught and learned in class. Sorry, I can't read.
You don't need to read.
I don't need to read?
Yeah.
Okay.
But just we'll stop you if you have any questions.
The picture is there?
There's
picture
animations
coding
on both
something?
of these.
What's that?
What was, if you're asking about this picture?
No. That back up where you were.
You
Which
mean
one?
the circle of
Yeah,
one
the-
person
the
with the
like-
class versus the
yeah.
circle of just the one people? The
Yeah.
idea behind that is standards. Go back one, please. The idea that like a classroom standards influence one teacher in one classroom, but the idea of the ISTE standards forward one, please, is that they influence the teachers, and by design, influencing teachers influence classrooms. That's what the graphic is. If you don't want to talk about that, remove it. I mean,
I just
if
didn't,
you
wasn't
want
sure
to
what
like bring it in,
represented.
it's got a little animation where it like circles the classrooms, and you talk about how influencing teachers influences classroom environments. That's the purpose of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very good, Megan.
I look Vanna White up here. This is a video. This is not. This is the link for the video. To have them watch the video. So this is also when who was it said this, the IST has some pretty deep stuff in it. This is a PDF. It's a little bit easier to read than the IST Actuals website. So if you click on this, it'll take you to a PDF. It's a little bit easier for everybody to read. So if you don't know ISTE, you might want to go through this PDF, if nothing else. Go through everything, but go through the PDF first. It'll help explain all the hard stuff better. So these are the standards for teachers: facilitate, design, develop, model, promote, and engage students in professional
So a
growth
great
and leadership.
activity to do with your students is to have them all open up the PDF copy, break them up into 5 groups, and say, come up with 2 examples for each category, and then do a class share. So you make kind of little mini experts on each topic, and it really gets them thinking about application as well as kind of the pedagogies related to it.
So then you're saying group 1 should be looking for 2 examples of this, and group 2 should be
Yeah.
looking for 2. Okay.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah, this is the actual page. Oh, that's the example.
That's it. Oops. Sorry.
That's fine. We didn't need to read that slide.
So then we go on to the teacher website. So we start talking about teacher web pages. Website is actually a collection of web pages. Some they do blogs. Sorry, I couldn't find a newer video for this one. This is
Wait, between ISTE standards and teacher website, don't we do the Excel, the professional, the survey one, the evaluation one? Where is that one?
I don't even know if
This is the
I thought
week.
it was week 4.
Yeah, I thought that was week 4.
Is that next week?
It's not in this one.
Yeah, no, I thought it was week 4 last semester. It's spring.
All right.
Do we want to move it up?
I'm not sure. It's just because we talk about ISTE here,
Yeah.
and that evaluation is based on the ISTE standards. So I don't know.
Your
I
week
think
4
because
is it
I
in
did
yours?
that in summer, so that's why
Yeah.
I'm confused.
I think we looked at time and went, we just don't have enough time.
Yeah, because this
So
one's
a
already at
40-minute
50 slides, and
So to go through digital story and
Yeah.
then
It's
have
supposed
them
to
do the
make
eval might be a
below
little
30. Remember?
squash.
Right.
there's no way to make these below 30. You could already see where some of them have, like this one was 2 separate slides at one point in time. So this is a video of a teacher who uses a blog to share how she teaches a kindergarten class. There are a couple other videos online. We were looking for a new one, so if anybody knows of any newer videos than 2011 that cover the same thing, let me know. I've been looking, but most of the
And
ones
you
I
don't have
find
to
are
show
older
the
than this.
entire video.
Yeah,
Especially
just
if you don't have a lot of early elementary future teachers, it might not be as relevant or engaging. So use your discretion.
instead of showing the video, one thing you could do is just get them to talk about how they might use a blog to expand their own. I think she uses hers to share ideas of how she teaches kindergarten with other kindergarten teachers. So you can have them develop ideas instead of watching the video. It's like 2.5 minutes, so 2.5 minutes of discussion time. So these are principals' expectations of you? Is this common for all schools, or
That was
This
a
is off of
Gallup poll
ISTE, right?
from 2013
2013?
or 2012.
2012.
13.
And so those they just polled principals across the
Okay.
U.S. And Gallup Gallup is pretty accurate. So yes, you can say it's sort of generalizable to America.
Benefits of maintaining a teacher website. Here's components. So these are things that you should be aware of, or that your students should be aware of when putting together the teacher website. The biggest one is broken links. Nothing looks more professional than having links that don't work, or more unprofessional. Orny will agree with me on this one, right?
Yeah.
My website buddy. And these are example websites from different teachers, and they're supposed to discuss these. Some of them are really bad.
Some of them are great.
Actually, I think this one's worse because, hang on.
So this is where you may need to add in additional information, especially like if you have a lot of science students, or if you've got like 4 biology students who might not have a biology website. Things like that, you might have to find a teacher website. There's a pirate one. I think it's the...
Actually, that second one, I think,
There it
this
is.
is it. What the heck? Oh, there it goes. I don't know why things are loading weird. One of them has flashy
It's pink and black
email
and sparkly.
rainbow thing, yeah, at the top of it. I don't know which one it was. But some of these are actually, there's some really good examples in here that I was going through this with my significant other sitting next to me, and he's like, actually, that's a really good website. So, and he's picky about his websites because he's only spends time on like 3.
Can we go back to the issue? I didn't see anything about professional development in week 4.
You don't have anything about professional development in week 4. There was nothing in here either. So do I need to add that in?
What?
She doesn't have anything on professional development in week 4, she says. And there wasn't anything in week 3
There's
either.
only one activity
Oh.
talking about like creating concept map in line with the academic standards. That's it.
I think it's should be
Maybe
in
we
the
need to
sheet.
check the website.
Because yesterday I feel like I see that somewhere.
See at what point are we doing the evaluation?
I think there is a slide. I saw that yesterday when I checked this version. So weird.
That's the end. I haven't deleted any slides to start.
So weird. Alright.
Anyone, Janet?
Oh yeah.
Where is it? It's week 3?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Do we want to put it back in week 3, or do we want to push it to week 4?
It's before teacher website. Yeah, it's just what I mentioned. After the discussion about EST, and then we have them to do that survey.
Is it this, the professional goals?
Yeah.
Yeah, this wasn't in my
is-
slides. I don't have this.
This
I'll
is
add
like
that
a
later.
40-minute activity that would we have time?
Oh, wait.
It's gone, yeah.
No, it's these.
No, that's newsletter.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
We have newsletter?
Yeah. Newsletter, it's a 2-part tip. So you have a newsletter and a map. You have going over all the digital story details.
We cover all
And a
of
mini
it.
lecture.
Wow.
Right. That's the concern.
But I don't know.
The newsletter is a ULA thing,
Did we
though.
have problems in the past? Yeah, that's why we put that in the week 3.
Okay.
I remember we said we don't talk a lot about the requirement of the teacher website. We just taught them the key points, like what are our expectations for the design of the teacher website.
Yeah, so that part like just only take 10 minutes or.
Like 5 to 10 minutes.
I have a question about teacher website and e-portfolio. So like they always have like a welcome page or about me page, right? And they will put their pictures and then give short description of themselves. When are they going to do that, or just find
Week
it?
6 or 7.
Okay,
You'll
so
see a slide
there
on
will
that.
be a time to ask them to like polish their
Mhm.
website.
Also, any free time you have in class. Like if you you are ending 6 minutes early or something, just be like, hey, go back to your About Me section, enhance it, write a couple of sentences, go back, check for grammar mistakes and things like that. The About Me and the welcome pages, those additions really happen outside of class.
So when I update this
They're not
later,
built in.
should I just leave this here then, since it's already here, and just not add it to the slides that I have?
Yep.
Okay. One thing when they're updating their web pages, because we've had 2 students do this so far, when they go to embed a video onto their website, they have to push the HTML button first, or else they're just embedding code into the text section. We've had 2 students come in asking, why won't my embed code work? They told me to just embed it on my page.
Oh, and there's one more thing that you might want to share with your students. It's just many students will complain that they actually embed Voki or Go Anime, but there's no way they can see that. So in that, if you will see a shell icon here, if you click that button on the Chrome, then it will show up. So just tell your student if something missing, don't panic. Click that and click on load unsafe content. Then the Voki or Go Anime will pop up.
If it's Firefox, it's on the other side of the URL browser and it looks like a Lego piece. If it's Internet Explorer, it's a drop-down menu that you say allow content. So it is there. Just make sure you try out different browsers a couple times before the student freaks out.
So this is the tip for the week, is that they're doing, is there a dream school that they wanted to be in? Look up the school, add the URL to their website, and then the ULAs do a demo of a newsletter. Is this the newsletter?
No, this is the school website. So
Okay.
they will do 2 demo. One is add school
Got it.
website to the menu bar, and the other one is write a newsletter.
Okay.
No map?
No, the,
And add
the
map.
map's part of the newsletter now.
So that's the 3rd ULA demo, right? Not the newsletter, but the one previous to what you were just talking about.
This is ULA demo, the newsletter's ULA demo, and adding the map to the newsletter is ULA demo. So the last
Okay.
3, the trips are all ULAs. And
You
then
can
you'll-
ask for 1 people to do this.
So you get 1 to do the digital story stuff and 1 to do...
And then just to make
Got
you
it.
aware of it, the due date's up in the header of this last slide instead of down in the body of it this time. So. Okay.
Good job, Megan. So, where you can find the templates, it's, sorry. I have already uploaded that to, I didn't upload that to F500 because I wanted you to be able to copy and paste it. Ugh. Seriously?
Yeah, it was acting up for me too. I broke it.
Anyway, it's on my folder, my Monday folder. So you can just copy and paste those stuff. Ugh.
It's a share. If you put
Oh, the chair's pushing on the smart board. The top of the chair's pushing on the smart board. There you go.
Ah.
Good job, Yumi. It's the first time you talk.
I didn't
really
realize
solve the
that.
problem.
Sorry.
So if you go to my session, Monday session, week 3. So this is a small board template, and this is a release form. So and this is a citation. So you can just copy it and paste it onto your session. This is a citation template, and this is a storyboard template, and this is a release form. 3 things that you need to copy to your.
Well, now it's going to be 1 more because you also have to copy the Excel file once we add it.
Oh yeah, I will add that later. So you will need to copy 4 things. And I have this because this week is Monday, is Labor Day, so I don't have the UITS people coming, so that's why this is here. But yours is already on the week 2 folder.
Can you say it again?
Citation, templates, and release form, and the Excel file for doing the evaluation one.
Okay. So no need to copy the digital story project resources.
If you want, you can. Where is that file? last semester we did it in week 4.
Are we going to put it in week 4?
Do you want to do that in this week or next week?
I worry like if you run out of time, if the but next week.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be a long week. So.
But all of the weeks are like that. So, but
Did we cut content from week 4 last semester?
What do we have in week 4?
Week 4 we talk about 3 E's,
Okay.
and then we learn about iPad apps and do inspiration, like the concept map and digital story workshop on video.
Yeah, that fits time wise with week 4. You could do it at the beginning, at least a refresher activity. Janet, what do you think? Yeah, definitely.
Moving to week 4?
Yeah, what do you think? Week 4 or week 3? Week 4? I think
we
that's
can do
why
that.
we originally moved it over. It's just time.
Okay, so I'll put that into week 4.
okay. Decision making.
Add it
Add it at all.
So any questions before we end the meeting?
Yes.
I was talking to my ULS and I was wondering like and I heard from you guys that you let them like give you feedback about your kids like tip or class prep. So I was wondering if I could like give them the login and password. Is that something I can do, or I can give them login and password to just go, because otherwise like I have to like make a Google Docs, copy everything and then send it to them. So
What do you say? Yeah, okay. Because when I was teaching, I had 2 ULAs, but they both quit. So I don't know the procedure.
You cannot give them your password. Yeah.
The easiest way is you set up a Google Doc and assign your ULAs specific students, and these are the students they are primarily responsible for the entire semester. So if you have 2 ULAs, maybe one is more math-oriented secondary, one is more tall, elementary ed, is sort of assign them students that way so that they really get to establish and develop a relationship and a mentorship with those students. And then give them the links to their tips, give them the links to their e-portfolio,
Or
and then
teacher
just give them a
website.
column for comments. So every week you can take those comments and you can copy them into OnCourse, but don't give them passwords and sensitive information like that. That's just not appropriate. So
You just
That's
need to
the way we do
share with them. You will have a Google spreadsheet with all the teacher website e-portfolio, right? Just share their file with your ULA so they can access all the websites and give them feedback.
Cool. Any other questions?
gifted special.
So anything you Ming, you want to say about your class? Nothing special. Okay, next week we'll give you 5 minutes to talk about it. And then the cell. So that's it, I guess, for this week. So remember to grade, be prepared to the class, triple check your announcements before you send it. Don't forget to put things in the template. Don't change the button in the on course that says this is associated to that. Like, so just let it in the default. And that's it.
When are the class preps supposed to be due by? Just so.
Everyone's got their own deadline.
Before your class generally.
No, I mean for me to put on the website.
Oh, week 4. Are you ready? You have to get it down before noon
Today.
and then send it to,
Before in 1 hour.
because that's class prep.
Yeah. Remember, we have some of the students need a week to do it because they have other classes and stuff. So it's not fair to our students to like give them 4 days, 5 days. So we need to give them enough time to look at resources. and
Would it
things.
be easier to change the due date to that to earlier in the week for people because Friday is such a harsh due date to have things done by? or
Like make class preps do last night.
yeah, like class preps due on Thursday nights instead of Friday? Would that be easier for people or harder?
My class preps do Tuesday morning.
No, I
Talking
mean
about
for
for the AI.
the website.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm asking which would be easier for you guys to get the class preps ready to go online.
Boost button.
Friday, well, it has to be by noon because I have to have enough time to get it up on the website.
Yeah, we can think about that because we didn't discuss anything about changing class prep generally. Like, did we?
No, there wasn't a lot of, I think the only one was, mine said remove a question and add a question, but there was no question to be removed, so I don't know what it was actually talking about. That was last week anyways, because mine's already up on mine, so.
Yeah. So that is fine if you guys want to do that.
Okay, and then should we be talking about the class preps on these Friday meetings then? So should we save a couple minutes at the end to talk about the next week's class prep? In case there's any more changes that need to be done? Yours is a little bit late, don't worry about it, as long as it's in before 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because I leave at 1 o'clock.
So I just want to show you an example that what I did is these are all the links to their projects, and I shared this with my UOA, and then they will give them feedback on one column.
Just make sure it's in the right folder.
So this is how we did it.
So teacher website, e-portfolio, what else? And those, like we haven't created yet, right? The others that I see.
Yeah, we have those two
Yeah.
now, and you should have a digital
Is it in
storage
all
script too.
2014 week?
I think I hide it. I have too many stuff here. See? Script.
And so just let me know that it's correct.
So just
I'll
put
let-
everything on one
because I have to
place,
do it
but
for
you can
all
hide
that.
the
I
one
can
that
do
you
it from
don't
the
want to
actual-
use for now.
Right.
Any other questions? So that's okay. We are released free. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. And I'm looking forward for next Friday.